For 20 years, Tolkien was a member of the parish church of St. Gregory and St. Augustine in Oxford. And in that little parish church, year after year, on Good Friday, Tolkien would have seen a crucifix that reminded him of the trauma and horrors of the Great War. This crucifix was called the Basil Brooks Memorial Crucifix, given in honor of a young man from Oxford who had died in the front lines. And in fact, Captain Basil Brooks had been killed in the trenches of the Somme just the day before Tolkien himself went to that same front line on the Somme. So year after year, he had a reminder of how he too could easily have been killed in the war, and a reminder also of the many friends whom he lost during that war. In fact, Tolkien remarked that during the Great War, almost all of his close friends were killed. It was a tremendously shattering experience for the entire culture and for Tolkien himself, and it had a deep influence on his writing, on his life, and that's something that has been very ably explored in John Garth's magisterial book, Tolkien and the Great War. But what about the effect of the Great War on Tolkien's spirituality? And that's an area that we can really find meaning in as we explore more deeply. For one thing, just going into this experience of suffering and sorrow in the trenches really confronted Tolkien with a whole new depth of exposure to suffering and the problem of evil, something that he took seriously in all of his writings. It also provided an opportunity for him to deepen his devotional life. For instance, he formed a closer devotional connection with the Virgin Mary. In the trenches, he composed a poem which he titled Consolatrix Afflictorum, which is a Latin title for Mary that means consoler of the afflicted. And we can certainly see how that consolation was needed in the carnage of the trenches. But perhaps even more deeply, the experience of fighting in the Great War, of suffering and sorrow in it, of seeing people killed, that really helped to deepen Tolkien's sense of the importance of pity and mercy. And that's something that goes through all of his life and all of his writings. He felt compassion and pity from not just for his own people, but even for the Germans who were being killed, both in the First World War and then in the Second. And this theme of pity and mercy really blossoms in The Lord of the Rings, where it's an ongoing theme throughout the whole work. And perhaps best captured in an exchange that Gandalf makes with Frodo. Frodo has just made the comments that Gollum, who is evil and has caused so much difficulty and pain already, Gollum deserves to die. And Gandalf rebukes Frodo. He says, "Many that live deserve death, and some die who deserve life. Can you give it to them? Then do not be too eager to deal out death and judgment, for even the very wise cannot see all ends."